Hello everybody, it's me Nate, aka Double Dog, and I'm back with an old school game review. That's right, I went back to it. I don't know if you guys liked my previous review the way I did it or not, but this is going to be an old one. No real bells and whistles, just a straight to the bones, meat and potatoes review. And this is my review of the physical release version of Rugrats Adventures in Gameland. Now this was developed by the Mix Games and Wall Ride Studios and published by Limited Run Games. You know what, Limited Run Games, I love that place. They are so cool with some of the games that they actually end up coming out with physical release versions. Now this originally released all the way back in September 10th of 2024 on just about every single system known to man, but finally seen a physical release version of it on December 6th. Now Physical Run Games is well known for taking off-the-wall games and making physical release versions of them for just about every single gaming system known to man. And in fact, you can actually pick this up as a Nintendo cartridge. They even have this as a Nintendo cartridge. Keep in mind, graphically, it's not going to look like this on the Nintendo because this game is two different versions. There is the HD mode, which you will see on here because I'm playing PS5, but it also has the ability to hit a button and go to an 8-bit mode and play the whole game almost like a classic side-scrolling Nintendo game. And honestly, it's really a challenging game. It really is. Now, as for the overall plot of this, don't worry, it's nothing spectacular. It doesn't have to do with nuclear weapons or nothing like that. You basically see the cast of the Rugrats team. The whole plot centers around them seeing a Reptar video game commercial and them wanting to play the game. So they then go on a quest to collect Reptar coins, and in their own mind, they're in their own video game levels to get these coins in order to be able to afford to go to the Reptar door and open up and play the final level and fight the final boss. Now, as for the characters you can play as Chucky, Tommy, Phil, and Lil. Now, the other ones do make appearances, but they are not playable. And as for the moves, it's very, very simplistic. It's a classic side-scroller, almost like DuckTales or Super Mario Bros. 2, or even a little bit of Castlevania. And I'll explain that in a little bit. I'm not joking. Your moves consist of a standard jump that you can do, a lift mechanic where you can go and pick up items and throw them, kind of like Super Mario Bros. 2, and a ground pound where you jump up in the air and hit the jump button again and come down and smash your butt to crush objects and enemies. And there's a total of 6 levels in this game. And like I said, the babies in their minds, they're playing a video game. So these are video game levels, and in real life, they're probably just crawling around, pooping their pants, not doing anything. Now, the other thing that's really kind of cool about this game, but I did not have a chance to test it out, is it has a co-op couch play feature. So you can have 2 players play this game at once, which honestly, I think would make it a hell of a lot more difficult than it already is. Because despite what you think and how it looks, this honestly is a really challenging game. The jumping mechanics are not really exactly 100%. There seems to be a half-second delay when you do a jump. So it reminds me of one of those old classic games of like from Nintendo, because it is actually quite challenging. The enemies are all cute and nice looking, but when you notice certain patterns of them, you're like, oh my God, look. That's Medusa heads flying around. Look, that's supposed to be the Iron Giant monsters you fight. You know, here's those the skull heads you have to smash. So it's got a lot of stuff that reminds me of Castlevania in it. It really does. Now, as for game length, this is not a long game at all. You can get through it. It's challenging. It's not that long, though. If you play through it and not end up dying constantly, once you get the hang of how the floatiness of the controls are, it'll only take you about maybe 2 hours max to get through this game. Now, when you first boot it up, it's very vibrant and colorful and sounds nice, and it has some nice little animated cutscenes at the beginning, but I have to point out there is no voice acting in this game. This is a low-budget style game, and I realize it would cost a lot of money for voice actors, so there is no voice acting, which is a disappointment, but honestly, there's only a couple scenes in it where there's like animated cutscenes, so to me, other than having grunts and moans like, you wouldn't really need much voice acting in this, so I can kind of understand why they did that. Now, like I said, the gameplay in this, as you can see, is very reminiscent of Castlevania with, DuckTales, Castlevania, Super Mario Brothers 2. That's really the best way I describe it. You can jump on an enemy's head to actually either stun them. Some enemies you can kill by doing that. Most enemies, it just stuns them, and unless you do a ground pound on them, it doesn't kill them, and eventually they pop back to life and will attack you again. Also, you can pick them up and throw the enemies once you stun them, throw them into other enemies and items to break as well. And the other thing is, I'm going to say this as well, the reason why I say Castlevania, hell, I could actually say Ninja Gaiden, actually, because once you scroll through the levels, if you scroll back down through, the enemies respawn like Ninja Gaiden. So if you kill an enemy and you accidentally drop down on an area and you go back up, the enemies respawn constantly. They never end. And along the way, you got a little milk bottle in the upper corner that represents your health meter. And if you find chocolate chip cookies, that acts like an extra life. Now, there are like 3 or 4 different difficulty modes in this game. The easiest being unlimited continues, or respawns as they call it. But other than that, if you play it on the harder difficulties, you have to get through this whole game basically without dying. Because once you die, it kind of starts you back from the beginning of the level. Now, some of the levels have like midway waypoints. I would kind of say that if you die, it'll start you back at that certain section. But honestly, you can get stuck in some areas in here where it's this never-ending loop of you just getting killed constantly. So it actually has a pretty good amount of challenge to it, considering you would think a Rugrats game wouldn't be that difficult. I'm not saying it's difficult. I'm just saying the platforming on this is very challenging due to this floatiness. I mean, you have your natural levels like your attic level, you have a forest level, of course, you have an ice level, because they got to have that mechanic where you can slip and fall. So, that's always been fun in my book. Oh, I love ice levels, don't you? But as you go through these 6 different levels, 5 of the main levels, with the 6th one being the finale with Reptar, once you're able to get through the area and collect coins, then you can find a screwdriver, which is used to unlock the gate to the final boss of that level, and then you have a boss battle, which is a pretty standard boss battle of avoiding them throwing stuff at you and either throwing things at them or jumping and bouncing off their head repeatedly. Now, I have to say the music during the boss battles really is quite good. It starts rocking, starts picking up, getting pretty good. So I like the music they have during the boss battle. It's the same music for each boss battle though, so. Now, like I said, the price on this is another thing that's really odd. It's all across the board. You can get a collector's edition on Nintendo Collector's Edition for over $100 for this. Or you could just get the normal Nintendo cartridge version for $24. Or you could pay $35 for the PS5 version. I'm not really sure how much the other versions cost, but it's kind of unique, the fact that nowadays they're still actually making games for the Nintendo system. And that's because of limited run games. They're well known for doing this, and I absolutely love them because they've done this with some really, really good stuff. But in the end, can I actually recommend Rugrats Adventure in Gameland? Well, honestly, for its nostalgic gameplay of playing like a Castlevania classic 2D side-scroller game, honestly, with the respawning enemies like Ninja Gaiden, the level designs and the monsters that attack you, the toys that attack you. It's visually vibrant. The animation's great. The gameplay, like I said, is a little loose and floaty, but not that bad to figure out once you get used to it. The boss battles are rather simplistic. This is obviously meant for a little kid, and honestly, for a little kid's game, I can see this being quite challenging. So if you bought this game and it's for your little kid, a son, a daughter, or something who loves it, I think that they would get a lot more playability out of it, since it's only 2 hours long, but it's like a classic Nintendo game where it's actually pretty difficult. So if you're getting it for a little kid and they're okay with the challenge, I would say that it's not a bad deal. But honestly, for $35 for less than an hour to 2 hours worth of gameplay, I would actually say it visually looks good, it plays pretty decent, and I love the fact that Limited Run Games actually has physical release versions of this, especially on the Nintendo system. That, I think, is hands down the best aspect of this game. But I actually Can't really recommend this to anyone. Not unless, honestly, you just happen to have 30 bucks you're willing to throw away. If you're a game collector and you want to have a physical copy game, and you love Rugrats, I'd say okay then. But now, if you're getting it for, like I said, for a little kid or something, that I don't see as much of a problem, because I know the challenging aspects of the mechanics of the platforming in this is difficult enough for a small kid. It would actually be quite challenging and take them a significant amount of time to beat this. But as for a grown adult or someone who's played a lot of games, you're going to blast through this in about an hour or so. And for the price tag, I just have to say personally, in my own opinion, I don't think it's worth it, but that's just my own opinion. Please leave in the comments below if you've played Rugrats Adventure in Gameland yet. Have you seen this game? What do you think about it? Do you think it's cool? Do you think it's neat that they're still coming out with physical versions and Nintendo cartridges for stuff like this? But in the end, leave in the comments below if you agree or disagree with me on this review, if you feel there's anything I left out of my review. And of course, leave lots of comments and subscribe to my channel. And here at Devil Dog Gaming, we always end our videos by saying, have fun, play hard, and remember, people, the devil is in the details. Peace out until next time.